Welcome back, everybody. Ryan is sick in the head. This is the Last Place Fantasy Football Podcast.
And in the body.
God. I'm Ethan. This is Josh and Ryan.
Oh boy.
And this is our
chaotic beginning.
Yep, but we're rolling with it.
It's a wonderful
rolling
beginning.
with it.
Come on.
It's
a great way to start the podcast.
We need takeaways. We need takeaways from this last week.
Yeah, we are recording right before week 5.
How about okay, go ahead.
Week 4 was a crazy week. Ryan, start us off.
I mean, the first 4 weeks of the season were kind of hectic for me. Obviously, I lost in a lot of those first 2 weeks. I lost a lot of those games, but
I'm still losing.
I mean, I'm still and Ethan is still losing. I'm struggling in probably about three out of the 8, or 3 out of the 9 of my leagues.
But
I am struggling in 3 of the 4.
I'm dominating my league. I'm dominating our IDP league that we joined, and in the ESPN league, I'm doing fine. I mean, I just lost to Josh, but my team is.
I'm pretty sure I'm dead to last in our IDP league.
I'll be honest with you.
No, you're not. Somebody has not won anything.
I haven't
won
anything.
It was me, because I have been gifted Kyle Pitts as my starting tight end.
Well, in ESPN.
Yeah, because the random.
That was from me. That's funny because that was from me. I dropped him so that I could bait somebody into taking him and watching them suffer.
So here's the issue. So, all right, let's start off with this. I do think it's a cool concept for a fantasy football league. Is just let it randomly assign and you have to deal with it. So I get randomly assigned probably the worst team I have ever seen as far as no computer mock draft would have made it as bad as it actually happened.
Yeah, and I didn't plan that. I really did not. I don't know
what a liar.
What the heck happened. Dude, I'm 2-2 in that league. All right,
yeah,
I'm 1-3.
It's not like
you're talking to the guy who also made his Super Bowls or his fantasy championships for the last game of the season. So obviously, there's something wrong with his league.
Collusion,
dude. Ryan is the biggest collusion.
Dude,
in fantasy football.
I just have
the collusion connoisseur.
Yes,
I have the most terrible luck. I've been accused of collusion in a couple of my leagues. I did not get the first round pick, or I did not choose the first round or first pick in the draft this year in my work league. I randomly assigned it, and as commissioner, I hit randomize,
and then he sits there
and it pops up. It pops up as the first pick, and I go,
no,
they're gonna think I did that on purpose. Oh my god!
I
should have just randomized it again and just sucked it up.
Look, you know what, Ryan? In our dynasty league, you are paying for it with multiple first round exits. That's what it is.
For real, yeah.
For your tomfoolery.
And to be honest, in my work league, there's this one very dominant team that just has been literally scoring 200 points all the last 4 weeks, and I know I'm not going to win against them. I know I'm not. I don't know how he drafted. He doesn't even know football. You can throw your best punch
I did
fantasy football that well.
I knew I wasn't going to beat Paul year 1, but I threw my best punch at him.
No, literally, it did land. It was honestly. I still think about that championship matchup because I would have been upset. But I would have gone in knowing there's nothing I could have done better. I did the absolute best I could have.
Yeah, no, that's how I feel. Last year was kind of
yeah.
Last year that's how I had to get over the whole.
This has been the week 5 witching session. So we are now on to week 5.
Yeah.
Okay, so my take.
Say your takeaway.
Go ahead. No, take your.
My takeaway is the Colts need JT, and Puka is on another level. Yeah, he's up there with Bajan for me at this point. But what's your take?
I have 2 takeaways. One, don't rage trade. Don't rage trade. I did that. That was bad, and I am going to start Rage Trader Anonymous very soon because I goofed. And I was really pissed at Sean McVay.
What did you do?
Okay, so here's problem number one. Eckler for Josh Jacobs and Mike Williams. And Mike Williams promptly tore his ACL the week after. And then Puka and Roshan for Tank Dell and Evan Ingram. And I forgot to withdraw the offer, but I was pissed after that Rams game.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, crap, I forgot. Man. But my second takeaway is...
Well, Josh is the biggest loser.
Yeah, I am the biggest loser after that. But let me tell you something. We made a joke. We had a little running bit about who would be like the Toy Story characters. If you can get past the bugs and the technical difficulties in the beginning, Toy Story football was a lot of fun. It felt like backyard football. I was ready for Pablo Sanchez to run through a wall for him.
Absolutely.
I want to see them do game replays with this tech. Like, imagine the first Mahomes and Rams meeting, and the game that was in LA, the points explosion. Do that with Toy Story. That would be hype. Like, so honestly,
that would be really cool.
Yes, I am saying this as an adult male, but that was a lot of fun.
It was new and it was interesting. It was like fun. It was fun.
Yeah, well, and watching the characters, run around the screen and all of that, I don't know, it brought a little bit more of a playfulness to the football field. And
being up early.
It was cool.
If I'm gonna be up early, you better show me something interesting.
Yeah, you better show me cartoons. Come on,
dude. Honestly,
Sunday morning cartoons.
That is not even a lie. I'm gonna be up early.
Yeah.
You better show me cartoons.
Look, give me a bowl of cereal. Give me Sunday morning cartoons.
And backyard football.
Exactly.
And backyard football.
With fantasy implications.
Exactly. So those are my takeaways. I had a blast with that.
Beyond that, though, I will say dream lineups. We finally took a big win. So hopefully it's time for me to turn my fantasy season around.
You got one win. Good job.
Thank you, Dad.
You've lost twice in a row. That gives us hope.
I have not lost yet. I've only gotten second.
That's true. Ethan has not lost.
I'm the only person who has not lost, other than being the
first.
That's true. But I've never been the second loser. So
that's true.
Y'all can both suck on that.
If you're not first, you're last.
Yeah, shake and bake, Ricky Bobby.
Shake and bake.
Yes, sir.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Okay, so let's go on to our. Yeah, well, let's go on to our big questions. Ethan, why don't you start us off with yours?
Yeah. So my big thing is about Gibbs. I feel like this is something a lot of people want to know, but like, when do you guys think Gibbs is going to finally be utilized? Because everyone is saying the same thing, and I think everyone sees the same thing, which is that he is the best player on that field other than Sun God. And it's like, why isn't this guy being used?
Ooh, that's a tough question.
It's a hard question.
Because
Swift, you could justify it because he was always injured.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, there was injury concerns, but then you go like, this is the same thing all over again.
And character concerns about Swift too.
Which we noticed that in the Hard Knocks season with the lines. It was just like, oh, something's a little off there as far as what's being shown.
Right.
But
and we never saw. I don't think I saw Swift in the Hard Knocks episodes. I think he was briefly there.
Very briefly. So I just want to go through. I'm going to pull up your team real quick, and I'm just going to kind of go through. Gibbs is just at least snap percentage. He's been at 27, 48. Highest was even 60, and then back down to 37. So as far as Gibbs will be utilized, I really think the answer is going to be whenever they are in a close game, because Kansas City was close, but they've already said they had a snap count limit for him for that game because it was week 1. Week 3, Monty wasn't there, but he only could muster 60% of the snaps. Seattle was close, but Monty was still there, so it was a 50-50 split. Green Bay wasn't close, so it drops to 37%. We talked about this last week, but I think the issue, he might be matchup based for the moment. And I'm very concerned about that.
If you think back to Atlanta, he did well, but he didn't get a ton of points just because Atlanta's defense is that good. But I mean, I think if it was up against anybody else, he goes off if he's the guy. And
I mean, if there is a breakout game, it's this week. And if I really think the issue is just snap percentage.
Here's what I think it's going to come down to. I think what it comes down to is letting Monty do what Monty does best, which is get hurt, and then the right matchup where it's not a top 5 defense like what Atlanta is.
I mean, your Chargers week 10, honestly,
I think
look at this.
Closer to the bye week.
So, past the bye week, I'll just give you 3 weeks past the bye week. It is the Chargers, it is the Bears, and it is the Packers, all back to back to back.
Yeah, so those are 3 good opportunities.
We have now replaced Ritter Watch with Gibbs Watch, and I just realized that, which is kind of hilarious. But
I'm all about it.
Yeah, and so it's the Gibby glance.
Yeah, we're Clan Gibby.
So I mean, I think you just gotta throw your hopes and prayers in that it changes during the bye week, because here's where the issue I see comes in. Jameson Williams got his suspension cut by 2 games, so he's back on the field. He's not going to get starting reps, but he is another dynamic piece, ironically also drafted 12th. And then they still have Josh Reynolds. Sam Laporta has done incredible, pretty honestly, as far as to start his career. And then you still have Goff and Sun God Amon-Ra St. Brown is still the number 1 option. So the issue that I'm dealing with is I'm scared that he's not going to show up, and either the Lions are just going to cruise through games, or they're not going to trust him in these close game situations. I think the moment you can start believing in Gibbs is when his snap percentage starts hitting 70%.
Well, yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that. My theory on all of this is they're running the wheels off of Monty. They're absolutely running the wheels off of him, and yes, I think they are saving Gibbs for the back end of the season.
For marriage.
When they're making a playoff run, they're going to pull their secret weapon out, their first round pick. So, that's just my 2 cents. I'm thinking that might be it. That might be why they brought in Montgomery, is just to, run him out the first part of the season. And if he gets injured, he gets injured. They're gonna utilize him. And then near the end of the season, they'll start working Gibbs in more and more, to make a playoff run and keeping their running backs fresh.
Yeah, here's my final thought on it before we move on. But I really think the one thing that he's missing to get up to that 70% snap count is just making a friggin' play. He's been electric, but he hasn't made a play like Bijan juking out 3 Green Bay defenders, or Puka having a 15 reception game, or CJ being 3rd on the list for all-time passing yards. He just hasn't had a whoa, this dude's for real type thing. And I think if he has a moment like that, that's where you're going to see a snap
for sure.
Yeah. Well, I think he also needs to get in the end zone. He hasn't got a single touchdown all year. I think what's going to make a difference is when he starts scoring.
I don't care if Monty runs it 50 times; he's going to score. It's Ben,
Gibbs got all the way down to what, the 1 or 2 yard line last game,
and they gave it to Monty.
He almost got there, and then they gave the ball back to Monty.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. He needs to make a play. He needs to score.
He needs to make a play. Exactly.
Oh, okay. Hold up.
I will say, in Gibbs' defense of the talent, the fact that he is the running back 26 without a single touchdown is impressive.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying. He's so electric.
It's not like a Kyle Pitts situation where he's actively tanking your team.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He's not helping, but he's not tanking you.
He's active, and he's a deep flex consideration until he gets more reps, because he's in the passing game. They use
is.
him. They
Yeah.
just don't use him as much as Monty. And Monty is like they're running the wheels off him.
No, they're running a
I'm surprised. I'm
I'm ready.
surprised at how many times they've just handed him the ball and say, "Go up the middle, just get him."
I will tell you that it scares me as far as I mean, I think you're right. It could be another Monty injury to where they're like, okay, we have to balance it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it's just like, go make a play, dude. Like, this is your chance. I think he
Yeah.
really wasted that Atlanta opportunity. But
Yeah.
at the same time, it was probably also a playbook thing where he wasn't as comfortable. And with that, I'm ready.
I mean, I would agree with
Yeah.
that sentiment because of 17 carries. And he
Yeah.
only had 2 targets that game. So I can totally see it to where, okay, he doesn't have the full workload yet. He's getting there.
Yeah.
I could very well
Even
see it.
17 for 80 was nasty, and he looked good.
Look, it would be a lot better if he had a
Mhm.
touchdown. Like that's really the issue.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
if
a
he was
lot better.
17-80 and a touchdown, that's a completely different story.
And I
Yeah.
will tell you, here's the other thing that just something to consider. He originally transferred from Georgia Tech, which they were in their transition going from triple option to spread, then transfers to Bama for 1 year. So he really, as far as like pro verbiage and like pro style terminology and assignments, this is really his second year doing it. And even then, last year they had to use him as a receiver more because literally, I mean, we were talking about during our draft live stream that Bryce Young almost had nobody to throw to, and his only
Yeah.
option was Gibbs. So I do wonder if we all kind of saw the potential in the explosive playmaking, went for it, and then realized, oh, a lot of the tinier nuances of the running back positions, someone who like Brian Robinson had. Like he had all those nuances that got him on the field earlier, and maybe we're just watching the learning curve with Gibbs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, with that,
Well,
Ryan,
yeah.
what do you got?
Yeah. Okay. So my big question, after week 4, who do you think will be the rushing, passing, and receiving leaders at the end of the season? So this is just a prediction for the future. Who do you think is going to be the leaders?
I think
And
I think
just give me one from each.
I think CMC for rushing. I think Tua for passing, and I think Jay Jettas receiving.
Jefferson for receiving, Herbert for passing,
That
and
wouldn't surprise me either.
rushing. I think you have to go with CMC at the moment.
Maybe Bijan.
Bijan's the one I keep thinking about. Now I'm going to actually look up who leads the league in rushing right now.
It's CMC.
It is CMC, yeah.
But it's not by much, is it?
Let's see here.
So, okay.
459 for CMC. I think followed up by Achain at 309. Or no, sorry, followed by Bijan at 318, Pollard 311, Achain at 309. Oh wow, 364 for Swift.
I'll tell you what, Swift it is gonna get very close to it.
Yeah. I think it's neck and neck between them for me. Swift and CMC has just been a monster. And he could be, I've heard people talking about it, him becoming league MVP, a first non-quarterback MVP in the last 10 years, which is really cool to think about.
Yeah, I was gonna say McCaffrey already has 6 rushing touchdowns, 1 receiving touchdown, 7 touchdowns on the year, and many people struggle to get 10. Like this is getting to be LT pace.
Okay, yeah. So 459 CMC, 364 Swift, 318 James Conner, 318 Bijan, 311 Pollard, 309 Achain, 296 for James Cook, 285 for King Henry, 283 for Kung Fu Kenny, 280 for Zach Moss, 270 Pacheco, 262 Monty, 261 Brian, 260 ETN. I'll kind of stop there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd say
Ryan.
Justin Jefferson for me.
Yeah.
And I'd either go, I don't know, I'm kind of split. Either Tua or Kirko. because
Kirk was another good pick.
Oh,
Kirk's
Kirk was a
Kirk's
really
a
good
sleeper. Kirk's a sleeper for the passing yards because we have no defense at this point. Like it's
You
been
want to know what
decent.
it is right now? I'll give you top 5.
I think I have the top 5 up if you want me to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you want to
Yeah.
do it, I got to pull it up right now.
All right. So the top 5 right now is Tua,
Mhm.
Stafford, Kirk Cousins, CJ Stroud, Justin Herbert. The reason why I still think it's Herbert is because I think we're getting to a point where they're going to have to throw the win. Do I trust Joshua Kelly at all? Absolutely not. I also Austin Eckler is practicing, but I am getting worried that he may just like kind of casually just like, might not play. I do think Kirk Cousins.
It's not like he has an incentive to play.
Exactly. I do think Kirk Cousins is the one person on this list that's forced to throw. Don't trust in Madison whatsoever. They have
my issue. My issue with Herbert is Mike Williams already went down for the season. He's got Quentin Johnston, and he's got Keenan Allen
and Josh Palmer.
But Keenan Allen, he's very injury prone, especially when they lean on him. Yep. So, and with Eckler being out, it may be pretty risky. So that's my one issue with him. But I pick Kirko. I think they just have to throw. They have to throw. That's all they have right now. They don't have a running game.
QB1 right now, though, in fantasy.
Yeah, he is.
Followed by Allen, Hurts, Lamar, and J Love. But what do you got for us? What's your question, Josh?
All right. My question is, look, we're 4 weeks in. I know there's a lot of people talking about panic mode on a few players. Like last year, for example, it was Kyle Pitts. It was a few other players that we were like, okay, what's going on? But instead of players, I want to take it to offenses. And I kind of want to ask you guys whether these 5 offenses will turn it around. Why or why not? So I want to start with the Jaguars. Will they turn it around?
Yes.
Yeah.
And speaking of them really quickly, so we don't spend too much time on Jaguars, because we could. I think once they open up ETN, they're going to be a really hard to stop offense. And then the second thing is Calvin Ridley is the perfect buy low candidate right now. I think he's going to go off more and more as the season progresses. So if you can buy him low right now, I would take him because they are going to turn it around.
I 100% agree with you.
Yeah. And Evan Ingram is
he's been dominant.
He's been great the last couple of weeks. I hope he continues it, but
doesn't necessarily translate to fantasy, but on the field he's been very
dominant. I mean in fantasy he's been
consistent.
startable. Yeah. He's been startable in most leagues. I think he's a top 5 tight end right now, which is crazy to think about.
I mean, he's
top
been
4, top 5.
Exactly.
He's been the most consistent.
Easily. Which is why I traded for him. Yeah, I totally agree with you guys.
Like him and Hunter Henry,
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely think
I'd say the Jags are going up. The Jags are going to figure it out eventually.
Who you got next, Joe?
The big one. The Bengals.
Nope. The Bengals. Cincinnati Bengals.
Yep. So
this one's a little bit iffy for me. I do not like the first 4 weeks. I thought it was just a slump, and Cincinnati did that last year. They slumped the first, I think, 2 weeks.
They went 0-2 and then went to the playoffs.
And then they crept back and they started dominating. But I'm not seeing it this year. I'm not seeing Joey B.
Like you have to bench Joey B, but Jamar Chase I think is still viable. T. Higgins I would trade.
Yeah. So T. Higgins I'm not even looking at. Like he's a trade away, not even a trade for. Mixon, that one's tough. You might have to be a hold on him just because it's good. It's good. It's not great. It's not what you've seen the last few years.
Yeah, but he gets the volume enough to be
in yards, 32nd in scoring and 31st in yards.
Yeah.
I don't want him. Only one person's going to get fed on that team, and it's Jahmyr Chase.
So I'm going to bring the whiteboard because I've been wanting to do this. So I kind of have let me see if it goes up. Nope, it's not.
It won't do it.
It won't do it. I tried, but basically
I'll have to unblur and show everyone your secrets.
Yeah, they're government secrets. Let's not do that. But no, I'm kidding. They're not.
He's not kidding. He's not kidding, everybody.
Yeah, I did a Naruto run at Area 51, but
what suck. That's the only way you got in.
But here's what I want to say. Why we're not so high on Cincy. Here is the big reason. So you heard me last year. I was not a fan of the Zach Taylor offense. And this year I went into it going, you know what? They've made the AFC Championship 2 years in a row. And I'm like, all right, you know what? There must be something I'm completely missing. And I can tell you right now that I feel confident. No, I didn't miss anything. My issue with it is that it's fully dependent on Joe Burrow making the right decision. And so it's almost 2-player oriented. They go, we got Jahmyr Chase. We got T. Higgins. We'll be able to figure it out. We just got athletes on the field.
And there's too much.
And I think what Zach Taylor has done, it goes, hey, here are the questions, like the problems on the field. Here are the answers. Joe Burrow, you can make the right decision and go for it. My issue with that is that when there's times like this to where oh, hey, Joe Burrow is hobbled, or hey, T. Higgins is about to be out with fractured ribs, or hey, you had some really weird cases with Joe Mixon. You're not helping your players out with pre-designed plays, whether it's motions, whether it's just creative play design. The issue I have in that is that once it falls, it falls. Humpty Dumpty not getting together at all. He's gonna stay broken. And so that offense is fully dependent on Joe Burrow being at the top of his game. And that's my fear with this offense.
Yeah. Well, moving forward quickly to the last three. And I see the Bears next, which I do think fantasy-wise, Justin Fields is still going to be relevant. DJ Moore is going to be relevant. And I think even Khalil Herbert will be relevant. But I don't think they turn it around.
See,
the Eberflus effect.
Yeah, see, I don't know about Khalil Herbert. I really don't. I've trusted in him the last couple of weeks, and he's that whole offense is just let down. I don't know, because I think if you show up and show out against the Broncos defense, cool. But I mean, the Broncos defense is not that formidable.
It's literally the worst in the NFL.
And if they can continue to do this, then okay, yeah. Fields is startable. All of them are startable. But until I see them go up against a decent defense and produce,
no, until they win. Not even a decent defense to do well. Until they win.
No. Because teams can lose and still put up great numbers in fantasy. It's whether or not they produce that I care about. I don't care wins or losses.
I think the wins and losses, even in fantasy, it shows you to their consistency. If this team is consistently doing well, that means that they have consistent guys on that team who are putting up numbers for you. Yeah. Last year, look at the Chiefs. Kelsey and Mahomes consistently did well, consistently produced in fantasy. So I think there is some correlation, because I don't want somebody who's going to be up, down, left, right, sideways, and backwards. I want someone who I know he's going to get me this.
Yeah, but look at Justin Jefferson and Kirk Cousins. I mean, they've been pretty solid in all of their wins or in all of their losses, and we're down in this win.
So
maybe not JJ, but definitely Kirk.
So all right, I'm going to be more in the middle here, because Ryan, I totally see what you're talking about, and Ethan, I totally see what you're talking about. I think the only difference is that, Ryan, how you're looking at it, I think this just shows there's more volatility, because especially with these teams that are consistently losing, at
Yeah,
some
that's
point
the
you
thing that I'm
start.
like saying, and I agree with too. Is there is
Yeah.
still with it.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
now it's like, all right, how many ways can we find to lose? And or last year was with the Vikings, how many ways can we find to win? And they usually it was all right through Justin Jefferson, call it a day. But I think if you're a winning team, there has to be something that works, which means there's a higher floor. But
Of
if
course.
you're losing, there the floor can be so much lower. And I think your options as far as not only your top players but handcuffs too to are also very limited. So like for example here, you know how for San Francisco, like, oh, say Debo's out, all right, we're throwing Ayuk in automatic, no hesitation, we're not even thinking twice about it, right? You can't do that with like a losing team. Like I can't just go with the Bears and go, oh hey, DJ Moore's out, Darnell Mooney's gonna have a great game. It's just because the volatility is just way crazier. Unless I need the points desperately, and unless I need their projected score to like skyrocket, it's a very risky play. So I do think it's good to focus on the winning teams, but when you're dealing with the losing teams, I think your options are fewer and far but in between. And you better be right on them.
Yeah, and that's more so what I'm saying is
I
like
get that.
you're betting on a horse and you don't know what they're gonna do because
Mm-hmm.
you're right. Like they can be successful in a win, but you don't know who's gonna be successful because you've seen no consistency about them. Because winners, like Josh said last year, find a way to win through someone in particular. So like last year they found a way to win through Jay Jettas. This year it's more volatile, but you can bet every week on Jay Jettas, even though they haven't found a way to like stack the wins because ultimately like stacking wins is what gets your team forward and gets you the confidence to keep going and trust yourselves when it comes down to it. But
Yeah,
up next,
I understand. I understand all of that. I understand all of that. What I'm saying is
oh no,
it's not just correlated between, wins and losses.
The
It
correlation is not
determines,
causation,
yeah,
I think is what you're saying,
exactly.
right? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
And I
it's
think that's
not
very fair.
because they're winning, they're producing a good fantasy squad. When in reality, you could be losing every game and yet still have a very good offense that produces a lot of fantasy points. So that's just what I'm saying.
Right? I mean, before we get to the next two offenses, and I think we could just loop them in together. I think a great example of the inverse of what you're saying was the Chargers last year. Justin Herbert kind of actively was killing your fantasy team, but they were winning. So, yes, he was being consistent, but he was just not helping your team. It would have been actually better
Yeah.
to not pick Herbert. So that's kind of just an example of like, oh, the opposite can also be happening to where it's like, oh, hey, your star player is not being the star player, but the team is winning, so you kind of have to stay with it.
The G-men suck, and that's all I have to say.
Yeah, and Steelers don't matter.
Fire Matt Canada, and that's how I feel about these next two teams: the Steelers and the Giants.
I will
just light a fire and flick it in their direction.
I will tell you, Mike Tomlin said there's going to be changes. The Giants is really is not concerning. I think surprising, but my big reason as to why I think it's happening is because they tried to take the Chiefs model, and the only difference is that one's a two-time Super Bowl champion, and the other is Daniel Jones, and I think that's kind of the big issue. But I also think that the additions they made just have not been the contributions that they imagine it to be. Waller has been absolutely non-existent. The O-line has basically regressed to really bad standard.
And they have no wide receiver still.
Exactly. So there's nothing to help. Now, maybe that changes with Saquon coming back, but that also kind of shows, hey, you might need to pay Saquon a lot of money.
Yeah, you should have taken money away from Danny Dimes and given it to Saquon. Everybody knows it. The Giants got exactly what they deserve. I'm ready for Dreamliners.
It's time for Dreamliner. I will not talk about the Steelers. That is,
Fireman Canada.
I'm
That's
okay.
It. Did you like that video I sent you, Ryan?
Fireman Canada. Yes,
I like that video I sent you, Fireman Canada.
Oh my goodness, I saw that. I was
I think I sent it to you too.
Yeah, I saw it.
Oh my gosh.
All right, let's get into dream lineups. We're really hoping anyone but Ryan wins this week, just because he has the
Pretty
most
much.
wins. I am just very jealous of that. So, I'm going to start with my quarterback. I put it in last, but Tua against the Giants. I think, yes, I understand they lost. They lost pretty bad. I think they're going to right the ship, and I don't think the Giants have the corners or the horses in the secondary to limit Tua and that offense.
Yeah. Ryan?
Mine is good old Patty Mahomes against a pretty Swiss cheese like Minnesota defense. I
Yeah.
think he's going to
Well,
pick them apart.
consistent all year, so.
Yeah, they've been very inconsistent, and I just don't. I don't know. I think they're going to do well against
Yeah, I
me.
really like that matchup too, but I also like Josh Allen against Jacksonville this week.
Ooh, is this the
I
first
think
time we've had 3 different quarterbacks?
I think it is,
I
yeah.
think so. I think
Nice.
so.
Let the volatility reign
Yeah.
this dream
First of
lineup.
all, yeah, good job on all of us. But also, yeah, I really like the Josh Allen matchup. He's been on fire. They've been stacking wins, and that's what you got to do.
I
All
like
right.
that pick. Let's snake it back to you. RB1.
Yeah, I got Bijan this week against Houston. Their run defense has still looked really bad. So I like the CMC matchup. Well, I actually didn't like it as much going up against Dallas. So I finally get to go away from him. Um, but yeah, Bijan against Houston. I also think this is Atlanta's week where they're like, we have to figure it out now. Because I think for a
I
long time, like they were in like a neck and neck race, and now they're finally behind Tampa Bay, and it's like, yo, we have to figure this out. Offense is not performing for a lot of reasons. It's not all just Ritter. For everyone who's coming hard on him, it's not all just Ritter. Ritter's made some really good plays, but as someone who's watched every second of every game they played this year, if anything, the O line needs to get it together and not Ritter. But they got to have this one against a hot Houston team.
Yeah, I like that pick of
Okay.
Bijan. I mean that Atlanta offense has to get it figured out, or else you're running the same carousel over and over and over again. But I mean, they signed Heineke for a reason, and we're getting to the point very soon where it it could be Ritter's out.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he'd have to have a solo bad performance for that to happen.
He would need a Mariota versus Carolina performance.
Yeah. Or a Mariota versus the Saints, or a Mariota versus anyone performance.
Continue. No, I'm just kidding. Ryan, who is your running back one?
Mine is CMC, the rushing leader so far. I
But
don't really like the matchup,
yeah,
but I
it's
like
simple.
CMC.
Guys, that's
Yeah,
game of
It's
the week,
CMC.
right? Like that is
I think it will.
Yeah,
I
they're
cannot
two
wait to watch this
NFC
game.
powerhouses. I think it's going to be a really good game, but I think they lean on CMC a lot. So I really think they're gonna lean on it. That's why I
I see
chose
you,
him.
I,
Josh.
I like
I see you with your RB1.
Yep. Hey man, I'm sticking true to my word here. James Cook
Games
versus
cookies.
Sticking to it. All right.
Yep, sticking to it. He's playing Jacksonville. Jacksonville's run defense has not been the greatest, but
Except
I
for when they play Atlanta.
that's true. But but I think with James Cook, he's been very effective without scoring so many touchdowns. Like he's had his hand in both the receiving and running the ball. I think he's going to have a good day.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I
All
am
right,
just
snake it
hoping
back to you. RB2, Josh.
RB2. I mean, you brought it up earlier, but
I did.
the snap count is off. Brees
Yeah,
Hall.
The Jets fans said Farrell let my people go, and they took Brees off.
Yeah, and Brees Hall is parting the Red Sea called the Denver Broncos defense, who just cut Randy Gregory.
Listen. everyone's parting the sea that is the Broncos. The Broncos are the drunk frat girl. Like everyone's parting that sea.
No,
God.
God, oh no,
Ethan.
no. Okay, I got.
That's who they are.
Why do you always say stuff like this on the podcast? Why? Why? All right.
Tell me you're not married without telling me you're not married.
That was really funny though. So okay.
I was going to say like
I'll tell you.
I was going to say parting the Red Sea like the Ford Bronco commercial back in the day, but that's a whole nother.
Hey, that too.
I actually do not understand that reference. Okay.
I'll have to show it to you.
So Brian, go ahead. RB2.
Okay. My RB2 is David Montgomery versus Carolina.
That's mine. Stay in the
I
Flames.
think he is. Yeah, I think he's solid. I don't think he's going to have another, beast performance like he did last week, but I think he's going to produce RB2 numbers. So
yeah, that's mine as well. RB2 is Monty. And that's just a good matchup too. Carolina's defense is just awful.
Yeah,
awful with the side of awful. But so
all right.
One, I got Hill. Tyreek Hill up against the G-Man. The G-Man looked terrible. And Tyreek likes to do this thing where he has a really dominant game, and then kind of a mid game, and then a really dominant game again. So last week he had a pretty mid game. So I'm really hoping he bounces back against a really bad defense.
I like that pick. I mean, I like going after that matchup. Ryan, who's your wide receiver one?
Who else other than
he's a homer? It's gonna be JJ's
Justin Jefferson. I mean, he's facing Kansas City. It's a tough matchup.
It's America's
playing against. I'm kind of playing against the matchups, but for the individuals.
Yeah.
So I trust in CMC and JJ to produce despite a tough matchup. So yeah, that's my wide receiver one.
Look, guys, for our dream lineups, I'm losing right now. This is my shot in the dark. I too am going with the Dolphins Giants game, but I am choosing Jalen Waddle. I think part of the offense they have to get Jalen Waddle involved. I think what made them extra dangerous last year was the fact that both of them could just light it up at any point. And right now it's just been Tyreek Hill. But I do think as teams go on, like Miami still plays 49ers this year, and I believe so. I might be wrong on that. And they play the Ravens. They still have a lot of tough defenses left, and I think teams will find a way to stop Tyreek Hill. The best way to unleash Tyreek Hill is to either A, run game, or B, let Jalen Waddle go off. And I think they're going to make it a point of emphasis this week.
Yeah. House of Waddle. Key the GOT theme music.
All right.
Who you got wide receiver 2, Josh?
Wide receiver 2. I think
it's one of my flexes.
It's one of your flexes? Okay, so let's I'll bring it up. It's Brandon Ayuk going up against Dallas. Yes, tough defense. But I mean,
is it just crazy enough to work?
It's just crazy enough to work. I think Gilmore on Diggs. I mean not Diggs, sorry. Gilmore on Debo for sure. And then I think it's DaRon Bland. And if it's DaRon Bland versus Ayuk, I am going to trust Ayuk in that regard. But I mean, I do think there's going to be a lot of resources being put into stopping the run for San Francisco. And I do think it's going to put the corners and safeties on an island. And in that case,
give me Ayuk.
Yeah, I was talking to Pat about this, and we figured out the perfect comp for Ayuk. He's a more fluid D-Hop.
I don't agree with that whatsoever, but that's fine. Y'all live your life.
But we say that because a lot of his catches are going to be over the middle, intermediate. He's not really one taking deep shots, but that I do have Brandon Ayuk as my wide receiver 2 this week.
Yeah, I mean, I think him and Garrett Wilson are more similar than him and D-Hop, but
I'll tell you, watch how he plays. It's a lot closer to D-Hop than you think.
All right. Ryan?
Okay. My wide receiver, again, I'm playing against the matchups, but for the individual.
Hey, maybe it pays off though.
Good old Puka
Michael.
Nakua versus Philly. Potentially, what could be his last week without Cooper Cup. Could be. I think
Yeah.
he still has a week or two left.
Yeah, if you guys didn't see the Sean McVay thing,
Yeah.
which was really funny because he's like, "Oh, I feel like Ron Burgundy's reading off the teleprompter. He's not a limited participant. He's coming back full time, which means he's probably doing good, better than people think."
Yeah.
And
So he could come back. This could be his first week.
I will tell you, fancy footballers brought this stat up, and I want to kind of shout out them. Obviously, I mean, they don't really need shout outs. They're already big, but
they get more anyways.
They brought a really good point that I did not consider. When Sean McVay has ever talked about a Cooper Cup injury, he's usually not lying. So he's usually been about 1 to 2 weeks off. So I definitely think that means we're seeing Cooper Cup sooner rather than later.
Yeah, if McVay says, he's not going to be limited in any capacity, he's not going to be limited in any capacity.
And I will tell you, Ryan, there's only one thing that will tank this Puka pick. And that is maybe, but it's really the Philly D line. If there's anything that's still a massive problem for the Rams, it's their O line protection. And
and see, that's why I'm going for him, because I mean, he's a short dump off route. You know, he doesn't go deep. He doesn't wait for the play to develop. They pass it to him short a lot. That's why he's getting so many receptions. So
that it could very well be the same case. Like this man's been on a historic pace right now.
Yeah.
So if anything, they're trying to get the ball out sooner. They'll dump it to him or Higbee, or so they're
give me Pittman against Tennessee.
Good pick. Good.
Tennessee is and he's consistently garnering targets. So I like Pittman.
Yeah,
that is a great pick.
I'm not necessarily happy with his production the first 4 weeks, but I think him and Anthony Richardson have become like this on the field, and I think that's just going to develop.
Oh yeah, last week they showed up to the stadium with Step Brothers t-shirts on. Like those kids love each other.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Ryan, I will tell you with all the certainty in my heart, while you may be disappointed, I am not. I had Michael Pittman last year. That's all the context you need.
Yeah, last year, but this definitely has not been last year for Pittman.
This is a very 100%.
The only thing that will make Pittman better is scoring more consistently. He's got the catches and the yards. He just needs to score.
And that makes him a very interesting candidate for the second half of the year.
Yeah. But he could also be a most improved candidate this year. Kind of snaking back, I've got Khaleesi at tight end. Or Kelsey. Kelsey himself. Because I want to stick with the GFC team now.
You mean Travis Swift?
No, we're not talking about that. All right. Turn on NBC. That crap.
You know he's taking her last name.
Oh God. We're not talking about it. We're not talking about it.
All right, Ryan, who you got at tight end?
Oh my gosh. I have TJ Hawkinson.
The Hawk.
Again, I think it's gonna be a Hawk has garnered a lot of targets, a lot of yards.
Oh dude,
he's a red zone. Yeah, he's a red zone threat, and I think the Vikings really need that. So, especially with having no running backs.
Yeah, it's good.
So, yeah,
that's
my tight end.
I'm taking a different approach. Give me Mark Andrews this week going up against Pittsburgh.
Andrews.
I think the connection's working. Yeah. And he's looking 100%.
Look good these last few weeks.
Yeah, he definitely has.
Snake that.
Yeah, we're gonna snake it to the flexes. Give me DeAndre Swift.
Yep, you took my last flex. Other than
Swifty. Yeah, that's my flex one too.
All right,
and good old Swifty.
Yep. And Ryan, give us our last dream lineup player this week.
Yep. Oh, did you say me? Sorry, you cut out. Okay.
You have the last player left.
Yeah, you have the last player left.
All right. Mine is Isaiah Pacheco. I'm really leaning hard on this Minnesota-Kansas City matchup.
You're hoping it's a bang.
Guys.
Go for it.
I think everyone's hoping that matchup is a bang out.
I know, no joke. But yeah, Isaiah Pacheco looked hot last week. He was running hard. They really used him. So I think I'm hoping it's rolling into this week against a very porous Minnesota defense. So
That's a good
they
pick.
really struggled against the run.
Heck yeah. Josh, educate the people.
Yeah, you can find us on all platforms at Last Place FP. Thank you again for listening to our Week 4 recap, our big questions, and our Week 5 dream lineups. Now, about the big questions, if you just want to bring up, we actually are clipping out our big questions for each week. So you'll see it. We usually post it a couple days after our main episode, but if you need a specific topic you want to listen to without going through the entire episode, we do have those big question clips for you. They're going to be on the channel as well. You can find us Apple Podcasts, Spotify, especially YouTube. Our main go-to is YouTube right now at Last Place
You know what this
FP.
beautiful face is at?
Yep, exactly. And thank you all again for listening. Ethan, the winner of the Week 4 Dream lineup. What can the people never forget?
Never forget. Sometimes you're right. Sometimes you're Ryan. And sometimes you're the Denver Broncos defense.
Have a good one, everybody, and we will see y'all next week.